Namo tassa bhagavato arahato sama sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato sama sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato sama sambuddhassa. So hello everyone, welcome to Dharma Bum Basics. So as usual, I don't have anything particular in mind for tonight. I figure we'll do some meditation, maybe some discussion. So we'll get started with meditation here. We'll just be doing breath meditation the way I normally lead it. And then if you have any questions or a suggestion for a topic, feel free to leave that in the live chat over there. So with that, we'll get started. Closing the eyes. Taking 3 deep breaths slowly. Allowing the breath to be comfortable. Careful not to pull the breath in or push the breath out. The breath doesn't need to be strong-armed, it just needs to be suggested, gently guided. And as you sit here maintaining an awareness of the breath, you can notice if the way that you're breathing is comfortable or not. And if it is, you can keep on breathing like this. If it isn't, you can experiment a bit. Try different rhythms and textures of breath. Just noticing what feels best for body and mind in this moment. You can even pose that question to the mind and watch how the breath responds. If you're feeling drowsy, you can ask what kind of breathing would feel energizing. If you're feeling anxious, you can ask what kind of energy, what kind of breath would feel calming. And as you maintain this awareness of the breath, using the breath as your anchor in this moment, you can begin to explore if there's any tension around the breathing process or any tension in the parts of the body involved in the breath. Noticing if there's any sense of forcing at the beginning of the in-breath or any sense of constricting or pinching at the end of the out-breath. And see if you can soften out that whole process, allowing the breath to come in with ease and flow out with ease. Relaxing the neck and the shoulders and the chest. Softening the stomach as well. Relaxing bodily tension all the way through the in-breath and keeping it relaxed all the way through the out-breath. And as you maintain this awareness of breath, you can even experiment a bit, noticing if in this moment it feels better to breathe with the chest or to breathe with the stomach. As you maintain your awareness on this process of breathing, you can begin to notice what kind of perception you hold of breath and awareness. Do you perceive breath and awareness as two separate things? Try holding the perception that breath and awareness are one thing, and notice if it changes the experience of the breath, the experience of the meditation. Without awareness, we wouldn't notice the breath. Without the breath, awareness would fade away. So they're dependent on each other. They can be thought of as one thing, one fluid activity. This breath awareness. And since we're perceiving breath and awareness as one thing, wherever we guide our awareness, the breath will follow. That sensation of tension, relaxation, that sensation of the breath, of the body coming alive. We can allow it to flow to wherever our awareness flows. So you can begin to work this breath awareness throughout the entirety of the body, expanding out from the chest or the stomach with each in and out breath. Slowly filling the body with this breath awareness, noticing any tension and breathing through it. Recognize that the mind has wandered, maybe lost in stories of the past or fantasies about the future. Release the distraction, neither gripping onto it nor pushing it away, simply releasing it. Relax the forehead and the shoulders, and return to working this breath awareness throughout the body. And not just through the surface of the body, but down into the bones and the organs. Fully submerging the body with this breath awareness. And with this breath awareness permeating the body from the tips of the fingers and the toes, the surface of the skin down on into the organs and the bones, with this body suffused with breath awareness, you can once again question what perception you hold of breath awareness and of the body, the sensation of the body. Is breath awareness and body three things, two things, one thing? How do you perceive it? And if you were to perceive breath awareness and body as one thing, how does it change the sense of the meditation? Breath awareness and body are interdependent on one another. So they could be thought of as one thing, one fluid being. Simply maintaining this breath-aware body, this sense of being. And if the mind wanders off, you can just gently bring it back to this embodied awareness. Recognize that the mind has wandered. Release your hold on the distraction. Relax the forehead and the shoulders. And return to resting in this embodied awareness. Maintaining this embodied awareness, you can once again take 3 deep breaths slowly. Slowly opening the eyes and stretching if necessary. Reminding yourself that even though the eyes are open, you can still maintain this embodied awareness. Just because the eyes open doesn't mean the mind has to go flowing out with them. So, as always, I'm curious to hear how that experience of meditation was for you. If the instructions were easy to understand or difficult, if the experience was pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral, whatever you're sitting with in this moment, I'm always interested to hear. And if you have any questions or an idea for something to talk about, a topic, feel free to type that up too. With this style of meditation that we did just now, that's kind of, I don't always take it that far when we do breath meditation. Oftentimes we'll leave off after just going through the parts of the body, but I felt like sitting for a little bit longer tonight and thought it'd be good to go through that. The one thing I do want to say about what we just did is that's intended, that kind of embodied awareness is what the intention of the style of meditation that I guide predominantly, that breath meditation, that's the intention behind it, is to be able to get into and rest into this state where instead of having the breath and the observer become one thing. So it's not the observer watching the breath and watching sensation. It's the breath, sensation, and the observer kind of coming into one and being one fluid kind of being, not or less of an activity and more of a state of being. And then from that point, the interesting thing with that type of meditation is it's not the end goal. It's just the kind of purpose behind those techniques of going through the body, through the sections, relaxing the body, settling into it, and then expanding awareness to fill it. And then from that point, from that as a really strong foundation, then you can begin to explore activities of the mind. When a thought arises, you have more of a sense of how it came into being or where you may be holding it in the body. And it gives you a deeper insight on how to work with these things that come up in the heart, that come up in the mind, because we're on a stronger, sturdier foundation. We're not as wobbly, so we're able to see things more clearly. I don't know if you've ever been on a car ride and you've been trying to read a book, but it can be quite strenuous and difficult to read when the car is in motion. And it's kind of the same principle here. We're constantly in motion. Even when we sit here with our eyes closed and we're breathing, we're still going 1,000 miles a minute. And so to be able to slow things down a bit, to be able to unify our experience into one point more so we can really look at things, makes things a lot more clear. So, hello, Roberto. Roberto shared, I was lying down, so I kept my eyes open. At some point, I began to experience the air that is always surrounding my body in much more focus than typical. Nice. That sounds fun. Working the breath to focus and body was a fun challenge. Yeah, working to combine the breath, the body, and the focus or awareness. Yeah. It's, and I have always mentioned this pretty much every week, but one of the most important things with meditation is to notice what kind of perceptions we're holding, right? In that meditation that we just did, it mainly began when the meditation really began, like 15 minutes into it, when we, after, getting the jitters of sitting down out of the way, when we started the meditation, 15 minutes into the meditation, um, we began with questioning what perceptions we hold, because we hold all sorts of perceptions and we never really question them. They've just become kind of ingrained habitual tendencies. We have a habit of perceiving things in a certain way. We have certain beliefs surrounding the way things work. So to be able to sit in meditation and bring up these perceptions that we don't think about that often, and be able to tweak them and play with them and see how a shift in perception creates a shift in experience, is really useful. Another perception, I didn't suggest it this time, but it's kind of implied within the technique itself, is how what we perceive the breath as. Questioning what our perception of the breath is. If our perception of breath is simply the air that's coming in and out here, in and out here, the thing that's making the chest rise and fall or the stomach rise and fall, if that's all our perception of breath is, then that's all our perception, that's all our experience of breath is. But if we hold the perception that breath, which it's not an untrue perception, the breath is involved in the entire functioning of the body. The breath goes throughout the entire body. We're breathing in through the surface of the skin, through the pores in the surface of the skin, constantly. Oxygen flows through the blood, animates the nerves. So the entire body's involved in the breathing process. It's not just the stomach or the chest rising and falling. It's the entire circulatory system. It's the entire respiratory system. It's the entire nervous system. The entire body, our entire experience of the body, is dependent on the breath. So when we can hold that perception that the breath is something that travels throughout the entire body, we're able to have more of an anchor of focusing on moving it throughout the body, focusing on our experience of breath as it relates to the entirety of the body, not just the respiratory function. So, yeah, it's fun to play with perceptions. Does anyone have any questions or anything? Sherry shared, I like the idea of questioning the perception of breath to take the meditation deeper. It was definitely challenging, though. I will definitely try this again. I'm glad. I'm glad both that you'll try it again, and I'm glad that you found it challenging. It's important to challenge ourselves in the meditation. Not to the point that we're bullying ourselves, but to the point where we're trying new things. We're trying to expand the mind, in a sense, expand what we believe to be possible, because we tend to live our lives, or I personally tend to live my life in a very narrow boundary, very narrow bubble. And it's important to kind of constantly step back, question what kind of perceptions I'm holding, question what kind of values I'm holding as the most important, the most dominant. questioning kind of all of those things, questioning the ways in which I'm refusing to look at things, question everything, look at everything, but do so not from a scattered kind of, not in a scattered and frantic way, but do so from the solid foundation. When we have a steady, strong foundation to observe things from, we see things much more clearly. And we're able to not only see them, but see ways of improving, see ways of taking a different route than we would have normally. And that's all part of this practice. Changing the way that we look at things outside and the way that we look at things inside. And noticing the correlations between them, the relationship between them. So with that, I think we'll close. If comfortable, please join palms for a dedication of merit. May any merit gained from this meditation and discussion be dedicated to all those who suffer at this time. May all beings in all directions, without limit or end, be healthy, safe, joyful, and at ease. May we all be healthy, safe, joyful, and at ease. Metta karuna mudita upeka sahanga teya cetasa chaturi sambharatva viharati sambhabunaro bhavena savanamaro bhavena sabbasangharo bhavena sote hontu nirantarang. It was good seeing y'all. Enjoy the rest of your night.